Sorry. You will do the introduction now, or
Good evening, respected doctors. Welcome to the Ruma Live webinar. Today we have a very interesting topic in rheumatology. And before I tell you about the topic, I am Dr. Salim Patel from Zydus Synovia. I'm the medical advisor. And first, I would like to introduce our speaker for the day. Our speaker for the day is our young budding rheumatologist from Belgaum. This is his profile. I'll just share it with you. Yeah. So it's Dr. Praveen Jain. He's done his DNB in general medicine and is a DM rheumatologist. Presently, he's working in Dr. Prabhakar Spore's KLE Hospital in Belgaum. Attachments are Apex Hospital, Kolhapur, Dr. Bafna's multi-speciality clinic at Ichal Karanji in Kolhapur, and also at Dr. Girish Dattar's orthopedic clinic in Miraj in Maharashtra. Today, Dr. Praveen at Ruma Life webinar is going to speak about a topic of coronavirus and its relations with arthritis and immunosuppressive drugs. I hand over the session to Dr. Praveen. Dr. Praveen, you can start.
yes, sir. Okay. Good evening. Hello, I'm Dr. Praveen. It's privilege to discuss a few things amongst the coronavirus and arthritis amongst you all. The coronavirus itself is a big problem, and plus on that, if a patient is on immunosuppressive drugs, that is an additional problem. So if a patient comes with these two problems together, it is a nightmare for a physician. So what is a rheumatological disease? Generally, in simple language, we tell the diseases which occur because of autoimmunity. Autoimmunity means our self-immunity which is misdirected. So that are called a rheumatological disease. And we have a lot of rheumatological diseases. For example, rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, ankylosing spondylitis, and various many diseases. And we use a lot of medicines to treat this. We use simple medicines like NSAIDs, steroids, and here on onwards the drug complexity increases, like biologicals, JAK inhibitors, and all. Next. So these all medicines in the last slide we call it as a immunosuppressants. Except NSAIDs is not an immunosuppressant, and steroid up to 20 milligram is not an immunosuppressant. And the two drugs like HCQ and sulfasalazine, they are immunomodulator drugs. Why they are called as immunomodulator? Because they are of mild to moderate intensity of mild to moderate intensity, and they are safe. These drugs can be carried, can be used in pregnancy also, and even if the patient has coronavirus itself. Hence, they are called only as immunomodulator drugs. Next. So we have seen a lot of risk factors for COVID-19 infection. So this has been like elderly age, diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, obesity, respiratory disorders, chronic kidney disease, and smoking, and also primary immunodeficiency diseases. So why I am repeating all these diseases? Because if all these diseases, when they're in concurrence or when they occur with other rheumatological disease, then it is a big problem. So always we have a lot of confusion whether the patient has a corona infection or whether the patient has a rheumatological disease. So we have a simple doubt also, like whether the corona will worsen rheumatological disease or whether immunosuppressive disease will worsen corona, and so on. So we'll be discussing this all few points in the forthcoming slides. Next. So this we have, so we'll be clearing about this few common doubts. Next. So the first question with what we feel, what Miss general assumption is that rheumatological patients will be susceptible to corona infection. So it is partly true. Why they will be susceptible to infection? Because they are on immunosuppressive drugs like steroids, biologicals, methotrexate, and all. Okay, so that decreases immunity. Plus, if the disease of rheumatological like rheumatoid arthritis, SLE is not under control, so means there's a lot of inflammation going on in the body that itself attracts the infection, and it aggravates the infection inside the rheumatological body. Okay, and third itself problem is if the rheumatological disease, for example, SLE has created a kidney problem or a heart disease or a lung problem like diffuse alveolar hemorrhage, kidney like lupus nephritis, heart like myocarditis. So various disease can affect various organs, so that themselves causes they cause susceptibility to infection. So here in the slide we will see the lot of rheumatological diseases. But and on the next column they have given grading as high, very high, or increased. But if you see in the additional comments, they have commented a few things why these diseases can be troublesome in this corona infection. For example, if in the case of systemic sclerosis, that is scleroderma, if the patient, if the corona patient has breathing problem with systemic sclerosis, then because of their lung problem, underlying lung problem, heart disease, hypertension, it will be very difficult to bring them out of the ventilator. Same is the case with a lot of myositis cases. Their lung reserve will be less. And next. So now if you see the rheumatoid arthritis is a simple case, but still it can be problematic if the patient of rheumatoid arthritis has interstitial lung disease or pulmonary artery hypertension, and hence the coronary risk increases. These risk factors are all the same which we had seen in the previous slides. These risk factors are common for the general public also, and if these risk factors are present with rheumatological disease, they themselves increases the possibility of infection. If plain per se, this rheumatological disease doesn't have much risk of infection. Only if they have immunosuppressive drugs, or if the inflammation is not controlled, or if they have organ damage, then the susceptibility increases. Next. So here, how the medications can prone us for corona infection. So if you see in the last column that is on the right side, so here if we see two drugs like hydroxychloroquine or sulfasalazine, if the patient is on any single drug, the patient is not much susceptible to infection as compared to general public. He'll be same as per general public, and he can just maintain a social distance for his protection. So that is the importance why we should know what drug he is, so that we'll come to know he's less susceptible. Now on the extreme side, that is on the left side, if the patient is taking high doses of steroids, they have defined here high dose of steroids. For example, 0.5 milligram for almost for more than 4 weeks. If the patient is on cyclophosphamide, if the patient is on immunosuppressive plus comorbidity, then their risk increases. So because of this, these patients require shielding protection. So there is high level of protection. And if in the middle column we see this they are divided based on whether the patient is taking single or dual and DMARDs, or if the patient is having other comorbidities, or if the patient is having or if the patient disease activity is stable. If all these things are stable, then we can decide whether the patient can maintain only social distance, or he can just go for self-isolate. So in short, if we come to know what medicines, how many DMARDs, how is his disease activity, what is his comorbidities, if we know these four things, then we can decide whether the patient should be strictly at home isolation, or he can maintain only on social distance. Next. Next. So here there are two scenarios. One is 35 years female who is suffering from rheumatoid arthritis, which is stable, and the patient doesn't have any comorbidities, and the patient is only on single drug, that is sulfasalazine. Okay, so what should we do in this case? And in opposite, there is a 60 years female with same rheumatoid arthritis. She has diabetes, on methotrexate and biologicals. So how should we do isolation of this patient? Next slide. Next slide. So in the first case, there was no increased risk because there was her rheumatoid arthritis was stable. She had no comorbidities, and she was maintaining only a single DMARD. So there was no increased risk, and she was able to maintain she was able to continue only on social distancing. So means no need to give a stress, lot of stress her that you are a rheumatoid arthritis patient, you are on this drug, you should not go out of house, you should be inside the home. So that will cause them a mental pressure and that will be trauma. On the other hand, if we see one is the 60 years female, the age is a problem. Again, the comorbidity diabetes is a problem. Again, the two drugs, methotrexate and biologicals. So all this, if we consider, then she is very highly prone for infection. So hence, it should be a shield isolation. So in short, just I'll tell what is shield isolation. Means they should patients should be at home, predominantly in the same room. They should not mix with their family members also. In between, it's okay, but not. If possible, they should use their own utensils, and they should use the different bathroom and all. Next. So the other doubt is, can corona infection worsen my rheumatoid arthritis or SLA disease? So next. So the answer is it can be, because any kind of viral infection can trigger their or flare up of their underlying rheumatological disease. But till now, we don't have sufficient data to prove that a particular patient had a rheumatoid arthritis disease and it was flared up by corona. But still, we have to be careful. And but good thing is that this worsening of the RA or SLE will be temporary because it's just virus induced. Next. Other thing is, will immunosuppressive medicines for rheumatology increase the chance of infection? Because of rheumatological disease, most of them are on immunosuppressive drugs, and it is definitely clear that the chance of infection will increase. Next. Yes, the chance will increase, but we cannot neglect that medicines, that immunosuppressive medicines, because that has to be given. If you don't give that medicines, the underlying rheumatological disease will flare up, will increase. That will increase the inflammation, and the chances of getting corona in the presence of high inflammation will increase. So we have to manage both. So if we control rheumatological disease, the infection also will get controlled. For example, if you see for one patient who was on immunosuppressive drug, then but he got a corona infection, and then we decided that we'll stop the immunosuppressive drug. But because of stoppage of drug, the rheumatological disease got flared up, and then because of flared up, inflammation got flared up. Then we had to use higher medicines, higher dose of steroids to suppress it, and then again it may cause more chances of infection. So the problem was here by stopping immunosuppressive drug. Now next slide. Suppose if you would have continued the immunosuppressive drug with some modifications, that rheumatoid arthritis or SLE or vasculitis would have been stable. So if it would have been stable, there will not be hyperinflammation. So if there is no hyperinflammation, the chance of getting or corona infection will reduce. Next. So if you want to protect from corona, we want to we will need special therapy for corona also, like using clear hygienic practices, and you want to treat rheumatological disease also, so that they get under remission or under low disease activity. That's why if you want to fight against corona, both the things should be taken care of. And the things, now what should we do about the rheumatological medicines? Should we increase, decrease, stop, or what? Next. So this is the most important thing, that we should never change rheumatological medicines without any consultation of a physician or a rheumatologist, because it will be definitely detrimental, and it may worsen corona also, and it may be life threatening also. Because now it has been suggested by various societies that you can continue the medicines, whatever the medicines of rheumatological disease you are continuing, you can continue safely until you are confirmed of having corona infection, or you are highly suspected of the infection. Only till then, only at that time you have to stop the medicines. And suppose if the patient has a life-threatening situation, like because of SLE is having kidney failure or myocarditis, seizures, and or multiple things. Even at that condition, in presence of corona, we may require biologicals that are higher immunosuppression. We cannot stop or wait. till the corona infection goes off. Next. So this is one of the common problem. Should we give painkiller or not? As all the physicians they advise, try to avoid painkillers. But if you have simple things like fever, body pain, and other things, then we can then for simple things we can continue with paracetamol. But if it is not under, but if arthritis, joint pain is not coming under control, we can use any NSAIDs. Previously, it was told that the ibuprofen will be risky, but it is not like that. You can continue ibuprofen also, whichever is suitable to you. But when you continue NSAIDs and you have corona infection, be careful that this NSAIDs should not be continued when you have GI problem, kidney problem, or a renal problem, or sorry, hepatic problems. So try to avoid NSAIDs. You can use paracetamol. If condition requires, you can continue with NSAIDs. About the steroid, there are a lot of mixed reviews. Whether should we stop the steroid or should we continue the steroid? One thing is, for your rheumatological disease, you should never stop steroid because we use steroid so that the disease, rheumatological disease, come under control. And if you abruptly stop, then the rheumatological disease will worsen. And plus, they'll also be prone for Addisonian crisis. Means if you give abruptly stop steroid, their blood pressure will come down. They will have tachycardia and most of the other problems. And uh, now, what is the role of steroid? Some people they say if you continue the steroid, the inflammatory condition in corona will come down. But it's not very clear whether it will be helpful or not. But on the other hand, if you give steroid and already there is secondary bacterial infection in corona infection, there will be a lot of problems. So that's why there are the mixed reviews whether we should continue or not. But in rheumatoid patients, you should definitely continue. And whether if it has to be reduced, it has to be under guidance of a physician or rheumatologist. Dose up to 7.5 milligram is safe and can be continued. And also, as the first, if the patient is on steroid, continue calcium and vitamin D supplement. Plus, because of lockdown, the exposure to sunlight was less, so still there is a high need of vitamin D supplement. Next. So here we see the what is the condition, how to manage the balance between the steroid also and the corona also. So it's a very difficult and it can be tricky situation, but we have to do that. Next. So other famous drug of this season is HCQ. So this drug is used in rheumatoid arthritis, SLE, and many other disorders. And so what is the double benefit of HCQ in this present scenario? One is thing, it can it can be continued even if the patient is proved to be having corona infection. So this is the DMARD which will act with for rheumatoid arthritis also and for corona also. And second thing is this medicine can be continued even during pregnancy. It is safe. The problem, what has been seen in this pandemic is that HCQ can cause QT prolongation and other death. But now it has been seen that this QT prolongation can be because of what the additional azithromycin tablets we take, and plus the myocardial damage was done because of corona. So this, if few factors come together, then they may increase the risk of QT prolongation. Because till now for so many years, no rheumatologist or some they used to screen the patient by ECG before doing a HCG. Next. Similar drug is the sulfasalazine, which is kind similar to HCQ. Similar means they are using rheumatoid arthritis, spondyloarthropathy, and they can be used in the patient of active infection also. Suppose if the patient has corona infection and they have rheumatoid arthritis also, then in such case it is safe to give hydroxychloroquine and sulfasalazine. Only as in the case of American College of Rheumatology, they say that during active infection, try to avoid sulfasalazine, because the side effect of sulfasalazine is diarrhea, cytopenias, rash, which can be caused by corona also. So there will be confusion who is responsible, whether the sulfasalazine is the cause or whether uh, corona is the cause. So they say in presence of active infection, try to avoid. But if there is no active, or then you can continue with sulfasalazine. Next. So we saw so many drugs like NSAID, steroid, and few DMARDs. Now we'll be going to the higher medicines like azathioprine, cyclophosphamide, biologicals, and JAK inhibitors. Next. So in this immunosuppressant drugs, we see this list of drugs along with methotrexate and leflunomide. All these drugs no need to stop until there is a proved COVID infection or if there is evidence of significant exposure. So this has to be very clear that you can continue the medicines unless you are suspected or proved of infection. And so here we can see this diagram. If we reduce the medicines, the prone for infection increases. Next. So if suppose if the patient has rheumatoid arthritis and it is not getting controlled in this issue, in this pandemic, then what we can do, either we can change the demand, suppose from methotrexate to leflunomide, or we can add two drugs like rituximab, methotrexate plus leflunomide. Both the things we can be done, or we can switch to higher medicines like biologicals, like rituximab, TNF inhibitors. That also can be done, but only if required and with proper care. Okay, so we cannot wait for the corona season to end and then we'll act on rheumatoid arthritis. Next. Next. And the other important thing is try to prefer for telecommunication, because that will prevent us also and our patients also to get infected from other people. And especially in the patients of rheumatoid arthritis, because they are on steroids and other immunosuppression, so they are very likely to get infected. So there are various modes like we use email, WhatsApp, video calls, and many other things. Next. And we can do few things by which the possibility of exposure of infection comes down by trying to reduce the clinical visit. So we can tell them not to come every second month. You can come after 3 months. Or suppose if they come, tell them don't come early. Try to come on the time, so that if there will be, otherwise there will be a lot of crowding in the clinic, and there will be again problem. Try to make sure that if there is only one patient, there is a one patient and one attendant. And if there is possible, use the home delivery of medicines. Next. Next. Okay. There are a few other modifications. What we can do is, if possible, whatever the IV medicines they used to take, either we can make it to subcutaneous or oral. For example, like drugs called TNF inhibitors. If they were an infliximab, for which the patient has to get admitted and use has to be given in drip, we can make it as a etanercept, which can be given subcut and which the patient can take at home. No need to come out and prone for the infection. And second thing, we can use tocilizumab, which can be given subcutaneous also. As much as possible, try to, if we request steroid, try to give them orally. Avoid parenteral steroids. That may cause more harmful. And if the patient is very stable, then we can delay the maintenance infusions, like for example of zoledronic acid. We can delay by almost 6 months also. There's no need to come for small things. Now for even injection rituximab, which we give generally every 6 months, that also can be delayed for few months. In some places they've tried, instead of giving two injections, they will try only with one dose, like that is only 500 milligram. So all this fine decision has been taken in this pandemic, so that we can achieve both rheumatological control also, and we can stay away from corona. But this decision has to be very clear and has to be, very balanced. Next. The other issue is, okay, we've taken all the care and suppose we stopped some medicines because of infection, because it was proved to be infection, then where to start? Actually, there is no clear guidelines or recommendations, but what it's been thought or suggested is after 2 to 3 weeks of once you are cleared of corona, and then after 2 to 3 weeks you can start the medicines. Or they say once the half life of that medicine gets over, then that is a safe period you can start. This corona mimics our many other diseases. Sometimes we may get confused. If the patient has arthralgia and myalgia, is it because of rheumatoid arthritis, or is it because of now whether I am getting now viral fever or corona? Or if the patient this cytopenias like leukopenia, lymphopenia, thrombocytopenia can be seen in both corona or SLE. Interstitial pneumonia can be also seen in Sjogren or SLE. Myocarditis, and the other things what has been now it has been coming up is cytokine storm and this hemophagocytic syndrome. So that is also common in rheumatological disease. So just I want to say uh, there can be some pictures where we can get confused whether it is because of this or that, but we have to take evidence of many other things and then we can come to a conclusion. Next. So this is a flowchart for if there's a pediatric patient, how to isolate them, whether all should be isolated or only few of them, whether they should go for a shielding isolation or only just social distancing is method. So they made this flowchart, and this flowchart is based on what medicines they are taking, what is the dose of the medicines, whether they have any organ damage, uh, and whether they are on steroids. And as per that, we can decide how to shield them or isolate them. Next. So to conclude, whatever is the treatment, we cannot avoid preventive measures, hygienic measures, and we can deal both with corona infection and rheumatological infections together and with successfully. And other thing is the patient should have strict compliance with the nearby physician or rheumatologist. They cannot modify by themselves any rheumatological medicines. Next. So to devise NSAIDs, if required, can be taken. There's no harm. Do not change steroid dose. Okay, without any consultation. And at low doses, steroids can be safely continued. Most of the demands can be taken until either you are proved or suspected for corona, but HCQ and sulfasalazine can be continued even if you're infected. Next. And other thing is avoid unnecessary hospital visits. The few important things are eat well, rest well, and but never neglect simple exercises because that will make them that will cause stiffness of the body. So to avoid that, continue mild exercise. In the end, we can win over this crisis, but with some efforts. Next, these are the references which you can go through for more information. Thank you.
Yeah. Excellent talk by Dr. Praveen. It was a very nice presentation, very crisp and a
Thank
sound
you.
message about corona and rheumatoid arthritis with the immunosuppressive drugs. So we'll take some few questions which we have received from our viewers.
Yes.
I'll start with the first question. Can these immunosuppressive drugs mask the symptoms of corona infection? Do they usually do
Yes. Yes. It's definitely a problem. For example, if the patient is on steroid, they may have fever or may not have fever. So that fever symptom can be masked. So that is a problem. And if the patient is on some other immunosuppressant, then we'll be get confused whether the cytopenias are because of either corona or because of other things. So we have to take the help of other symptoms, whether that other symptoms in total, whether they go in favor of corona or in favor of some rheumatological disease.
Okay.
Also, this tocilizumab, for example, tocilizumab, if we give,
Mm-hmm.
if the patient is on tocilizumab for rheumatoid arthritis or for some issues, and if the patient gets admitted, then the CRP may be low, even if the patient has infection, because tocilizumab acts on interleukin 6. That's why the CRP will not rise, and so we cannot depend only on interleukin 6 or on CRP to decide whether the patient has infection or not.
Right, right. Excellent. Another question is, can patient with rheumatological disease delay his visits by few weeks during this pandemic?
Yes, just as I said, if the disease is stable, they can avoid visiting, and plus they can also avoid many of the medicines like various infusions like TNF inhibitors, rituximab, even bisphosphonates for few weeks. That about this they can further confirm with their rheumatologist by telecommunication. For just for confirming, no need to come.
No need to come. Right. Okay.
So just they can discuss with the rheumatologist.
Rheumatologist. Right. Another important question is, a pregnant lady with rheumatoid disease, how would you deal with her in this corona pandemic?
So this is one of the issue, one of the third issue we say. The patient has corona, and in that she has a rheumatological patient, and on that she is pregnant. Then it will be really difficult to manage. But as I said, we have two drugs, which like HCQ and sulfasalazine, which we can give safely to them. Even low dose steroids and some NSAIDs also can be given. So which can take care of most of the things. Without exposure to COVID infection.
Okay. And what is the role of immunization in rheumatological patients?
Here now, uh, in these patients on immunosuppressive drugs, they are more prone for infections. So generally, like influenza, pneumonia, and all, they can get that infections. Plus, they can trigger the underlying rheumatological disease also. So we tell them to get immunized now. And plus, because we are seeing a lot of other infections also, like H1N1, which are coming down, so it's better. It's the time to get vaccinated.
Right, right. Excellent. Coming to the hydroxychloroquine part, I mean, it was an excellent presentation what you spoke about hydroxychloroquine. So there is one question that in acute phase, what will be the dose regime, and in prophylaxis for hydroxychloroquine in
Okay.
COVID?
So as per the Indian Rheumatological Association, the recommendation is only for two. Either you have significant exposure or you are confirmed to have this COVID infection. So although there are various doses amongst the various societies, but as per IRA, what we give is 800 milligram on the first day, then 400 milligram from for the second, third, fourth, and fifth day. So that's the course is complete.
Right.
No need to take prophylactically again and again.
Okay.
That will increase side effects for us.
Side effects.
And plus, various other societies, they have said there is no role of HCQ, so they don't recommend also. So there's still confusion going on.
Still going on, right? And what about doctors? Doctors who are treating regular patients, and maybe they may be a COVID positive patient, should they take prophylaxis with HCQ?
Yes, if you feel that there's a COVID positive patient and you come under exposure, then you can take.
Always start that.
You can, for any cough cold patient, no need to take HCQ.
Right.
Because of overprotection or overconsumption of HCQ tablets, the other patient who are in need, like SLE and all, so they don't get the sufficient stock.
Right.
So they may go into flare.
They may go.
Although we have sufficient time, means it's not like this that if they miss one tablet, they will have flare.
Right.
But like they up to 1 to 2 weeks they can wait. But otherwise, it may be difficult for them.
Right. Right. And suppose the reverse scenario. This is one good question what they've asked. What should be our line of management when HCQ is not available?
Yes. Suppose if we tried, suppose we have waited for 1 or 2 weeks and still we are not getting HCQ tablets, then we have to switch over to other DMARDs.
Okay.
Like we can use sulfasalazine or we can start methotrexate. But during the bridge time, like from HCQ to sulfasalazine, there can be a little increase in joint pain and all, because the drug levels have not come to that. At that time, you can go either low dose of steroid or painkillers, and like that we can manage.
Okay. Any biologic to add in that case?
Not only because if HCQ is not available.
Okay.
because HCQ is indicated for mild to moderate disease,
Right, right.
and in the absence, we cannot substitute a very stronger medicine like
Okay.
biologicals
Okay.
for HCQ.
Okay.
But if the condition worsens, then definitely we have to go.
Then you have to think about it. Right, right. Coming to another important question. Patient with acute exacerbation of rheumatoid arthritis has presented to you, and also there is a chance that he may be COVID positive. So how do you manage it?
So, sorry, I could not hear your question.
Sorry, I'll repeat it again. A patient with
Huh.
severe RA
Huh.
could be a COVID positive patient. How would you manage it?
So in that case, you have to handle both the patient, both the conditions. Okay. So for example, we can give NSAIDs. Okay. We can give hydroxychloroquine, and if required, we can add sulfasalazine.
Okay.
So that will take care of rheumatoid arthritis without disturbing COVID infection. We can give low dose steroid also. But if you feel at a time that the rheumatoid arthritis condition is so worsened, then we have to neglect, not neglect, we have to go for higher medicines like TNF inhibitors or other biologicals to save the patient from rheumatoid arthritis. Meanwhile, we have to be careful and monitor for the patient of corona.
Sure.
Now, for example, if we take care of, suppose if we are given steroid, the steroid will help in rheumatoid arthritis also, and steroid may help in that phase of corona, that is cytokine storm, hyperinflammation phase. Steroid can help in both conditions. That if either we can give tocilizumab, which will be helpful in rheumatoid arthritis plus in corona. So that little bit manipulation and all probably we can come.
Right, right. Excellent. So these were a few questions what we have received from the audience. On behalf of Zydus Synovia, I would like to thank Dr. Praveen Jain for his excellent deliberation. It was a nice, crisp talk with a very clear message. How should you deal with this crisis? And we thank you, Dr. Praveen, for being with us and giving us such a good deliberation. We thank all our audience for joining us today for this excellent webinar. And seeing the COVID pandemic and the scenario, I wish everybody to stay home, stay safe, and stay protected. And God bless us all from this pandemic. Good night and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.